We drift between a past we can't change and a future that hasn't arrived. In this constant mental back and forth, we forget the one place where life actually happens, the present. The truth is, this very moment is where all creation begins. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but now. According to the American Psychological Association, over 75% of people report being mentally stuck in the past or worrying about the future. This chronic mental time travel not only fuels stress, it blocks the flow of manifestation. The law of attraction doesn't answer to wishful thinking. It responds to your frequency, and that frequency is strongest when you are fully grounded in the now. Being present isn't just a mindfulness technique, it's a radical act of power. It's reclaiming your ability to co-create with the universe from the only place that actually exists, this very second. You've probably noticed, clarity always seems to arrive in moments of silence. When your thoughts pause, solutions appear, synchronicities unfold. That's because the present isn't weighed down by regrets or driven by expectations. It's spacious, and in that space there is infinite potential. Neuroscience studies have shown that mindfulness increases dopamine production, the neurotransmitter linked to motivation, focus, and forward movement. In other words, being present rewires your brain for creation. So why do we avoid the now? Maybe because it demands surrender, and letting go of control can be terrifying. But manifestation doesn't bloom from force. It grows from alignment, and nothing aligns faster than presence. Here's a question. How many moments of joy, peace, or connection have you missed by obsessing over what hasn't happened yet? What if, instead of chasing the future, you created space for it by honoring this moment as sacred? Sometimes the most powerful chains are the ones we don't realize we're wearing. We become so familiar with our wounds that we start confusing them with who we are. The mind has a way of building identities out of pain. It tells us that our past defines us, that our suffering gives us meaning. And over time, those narratives become so deeply woven into our story, we begin to protect them, even when they're the very thing holding us back. Pain becomes a label. I'm the one who was abandoned. I'm the one who failed. I'm the one who was never enough. But here's the truth. Pain may shape your experience, but it does not determine your essence. You are not your trauma. You are not the worst thing that ever happened to you. You are not the echoes of someone else's choices. Studies in emotional psychology show that when people hold on to unresolved pain, their decision-making becomes fear-based, limiting their ability to take inspired action or trust in new possibilities. And yet, many cling to their wounds, because letting go feels like letting go of part of themselves. But healing isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering who you were before the world taught you to shrink. Letting go of pain-based identity doesn't mean erasing the past. It means choosing not to relive it every day. It means allowing yourself to evolve without needing your pain to validate your worth. Some people wait for a breakdown, a crisis big enough to shake the foundations of their suffering. But you don't have to wait. You can begin the process now by asking a single honest question. Who am I without this story? The ego will resist, because pain gives it a sense of self. But your soul, it longs for freedom. It doesn't want to survive in the shadow of old wounds. It wants to rise beyond them. True manifestation can only happen when your energy is not anchored in old grief, because the universe doesn't respond to what you think you want. It responds to who you believe you are. So what if today is the day you stop identifying with your scars? What if you chose to honor your healing instead of your history? Freedom doesn't always come with a loud bang. Sometimes it arrives in a whisper. You are more than what happened to you. You are who you choose to become now. It's easy to point the finger outward, to blame your childhood, your boss, the economy, the timing, your ex, even the universe itself. But every time you hand responsibility to something outside of you, you also hand over your power. Blame can feel comforting. It makes us feel like victims of circumstance, like we're not at fault for the pain we're experiencing. But here's the trap. The more we repeat those narratives, the more we reinforce the belief that we are powerless. And the law of attraction? It responds to that belief. Not to your words, not even to your wishes. It aligns with your state of being. And if that state is wrapped in resentment or shame, then that's the vibration you're sending out into the world. Studies from the Stanford Mind and Body Lab show that individuals who internalize a sense of agency are significantly more likely to achieve long-term goals. That means shifting from "why is this happening to me" to "what can I do with this?" When we dwell in blame, we get stuck in a loop. We create mental stories where we're always the victim and life is always the villain. But those stories are just that, stories. They're not facts. They're not fate. They're scripts we keep rehearsing until they feel like truth. So here's a radical question. What if no one is to blame? What if every setback was simply a redirection? What if every disappointment held the seed of something deeper calling you forward? Letting go of blame doesn't mean ignoring injustice or pretending everything is okay. It means choosing to reclaim your energy. It means recognizing that every time you focus on what someone else did wrong, you delay your own healing. Yes, people hurt you. Yes, systems failed you. Yes, the path hasn't been fair. But the moment you decide to stop reliving it, to stop repeating the same narrative, is the moment your frequency shifts. And that shift, it's everything. Because when you stop waiting for an apology or permission or the perfect condition to move forward, you finally realize you were never really stuck. You were just telling a story that kept you standing still. We live in a world that measures success by what you own, not by how you feel. From an early age, we're taught to chase more money, more things, more validation. But the deeper question is never asked. At what cost? The law of attraction doesn't operate from lack. It responds to wholeness. And yet, many people attempt to manifest from a place of emptiness, believing that the next car, house, job, or follow account will finally bring peace. Here's the paradox. The more we chase what we think will complete us, the further we drift from what actually fulfills us. Research from the World Happiness Report consistently shows that countries with higher levels of social connection and inner well-being report more life satisfaction than those with the highest GDP. Wealth is not the enemy. But when it becomes the goal instead of a byproduct of purpose, it traps us in a loop of never enough. You've likely felt it before, the momentary high after buying something new, followed by the quiet return of dissatisfaction. That's not failure, that's feedback. It's life whispering, there's more than this. True abundance begins when we stop defining it through the lens of possessions and start experiencing it through the richness of presence, creativity, and connection. It's in laughter that can't be bought. It's in mornings of stillness, in meaningful conversations, in doing work that aligns with your soul, not just your salary. So ask yourself, are you manifesting out of fear of not having enough, or from the inner knowing that you already are enough? The ego is always hungry. It thrives on more, faster now. But the soul moves slowly. It doesn't compete, it expands. Shifting your mindset from "what can I get" to "who can I become" opens a very different flow, one where the universe responds not just to your desires, but to your growth. You don't need to reject material success, but let it be an expression of your alignment, not a substitute for it. Because when you begin to manifest from a place of sufficiency, not scarcity, you stop grasping, and that's when things begin to arrive, seemingly out of nowhere. Abundance isn't a finish line, it's a frequency, and it's already available. The moment you stop chasing and start becoming, we've been taught to do, to achieve, to perform, but rarely are we taught to simply be. In a world obsessed with productivity, the essence of our being is often pushed aside. We identify with our roles, the parent, the entrepreneur, the student, the provider, and forget that beneath every label exists something deeper, the quiet presence of awareness itself. The law of attraction is not powered by busyness. It flows most effortlessly when we are aligned, not with what we do, but with who we truly are. Studies in contemplative science show that even short periods of self-reflection or meditation can significantly reduce cortisol levels and enhance emotional regulation. But beyond the science, there is something more subtle at play. When we slow down, we tune in. And when we tune in, we remember. You are not the noise of your thoughts. You are the space between them. You are not your title, your income, your following, or your achievements. You are the awareness, witnessing all of it unfold. But in the race for success, most people forget to ask, who am I when no one is watching? What remains when I stop performing? Ignoring the essence of being creates a disconnect, not just from yourself, but from the very intelligence that guides all creation. And that disconnection dims your signal. It clouds your energy. It weakens the magnetic field from which manifestation flows. Presence is not laziness. It's the most fertile ground for clarity, intuition, and inspired action. It's not passive. It's powerful. Imagine this: a world where you no longer measure your worth by output, but by alignment. Where you remember that the most valuable thing you can bring to the world is your full presence. It's from this place that the most powerful manifestations are born, not from striving, but from embodiment, not from forcing, but from flowing. The essence of being isn't something you need to earn, it's who you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning. And the more you reconnect with that essence, the more effortlessly your outer world begins to reflect your inner clarity. So, take a breath. Not to prepare for the next thing, but to arrive, because the universe doesn't respond to your resume, it responds to your resonance. And when you remember who you are, beyond the doing, that's when everything begins to align. Giving is often misunderstood. We're taught to give because it's the right thing to do. But more often than not, our giving comes with strings attached, hidden expectations, quiet hopes for recognition, or the need to feel valuable. And when generosity is driven by the need for validation, it no longer flows. It becomes a transaction. And the universe doesn't respond to transactions. It responds to intentions. The law of attraction is not activated by what you do, but by the energy behind what you do. When giving is rooted in lack, it carries a silent message. I hope this returns something to me. But when it comes from fullness, it radiates abundance, and that signal echoes back. In her book, The Power, Rhonda Byrne wrote, "When you give, say to yourself, I am in the endless flow of giving and receiving." And it's true. The universe operates in cycles. What moves out returns, not always in the same form, but always in the same frequency. Research from the University of Zurich reveals that people who give selflessly activate brain regions tied to lasting happiness and emotional fulfillment more than those who give expecting returns. In other words, genuine giving not only supports others, it rewires you for joy. So ask yourself honestly, do I give to feel needed, or because I am already whole? Do I share out of fear of not being enough, or from the overflow of knowing I am more than enough? Real giving doesn't deplete, it amplifies. Because it's not just about money or material goods. Sometimes your attention is the greatest gift. Sometimes it's your time, your presence, your kindness, things you can't put a price on. But here's the paradox. The more you give from a place of love, the more you receive, not because you're trying to get something back, but because you've stepped into alignment with the natural rhythm of life. True abundance begins not when we get more, but when we realize we already have enough to share. So the next time you give, whether it's a smile, a compliment, or a small act of service, notice where it's coming from. Is it from fear, obligation, or is it from joy? Because when giving becomes an act of gratitude, not strategy, that's when the floodgates open. We often search outward for answers, hoping that the right job, the right person, or the right circumstance will fix what feels broken inside. But the truth is, no amount of success, admiration, or external validation can substitute for a lack of self-connection. The law of attraction responds not just to what you want, but to who you are. And if you haven't met the real you yet, how can the universe respond to your most authentic vibration? Self-discovery is a path many avoid, not because they don't want growth, but because they fear what they might uncover. The unhealed memories, the parts that were hidden to survive, the dreams we abandoned long ago. But what we avoid controls us, and what we refuse to look at continues to shape our lives, silently, subconsciously, constantly. According to studies in transpersonal psychology, those who actively engage in self-reflection and personal inquiry show significantly higher levels of emotional resilience, clarity in decision-making, and purpose-driven behavior. Still, the ego resists. It prefers the comfort of roles and routines. It wants certainty, labels, control. But the soul? The soul is not interested in safety. It's interested in truth. And truth requires excavation. Who are you beneath the layers? Beneath the fear, the expectations, the cultural conditioning? What would you find if you stopped numbing, stopped running, and simply listened? Self-discovery isn't always graceful. It asks you to sit with discomfort, to feel what you've avoided, to love what you've disowned. But that inner journey, that descent into your own depths, is the very thing that awakens your power. It's where the static clears and your frequency becomes unmistakably yours. When you know yourself, you stop chasing what doesn't match you. You stop settling, you stop doubting your path, because everything you attract becomes a mirror, not of your wounds, but of your wholeness. And suddenly, manifestation is no longer a technique. It becomes a natural result of alignment. The scariest part of self-discovery is often the beginning. But the most beautiful part is realizing that what you find inside was never something to fear. It was the home you've been seeking all along. So take the step inward, not for perfection, not for answers, but to finally remember what's always been true. The life you're trying to manifest begins where you finally meet yourself. You've heard it before. You are the creator of your reality. But that's not just a phrase. It's a remembrance, a return to the truth that was always yours. The law of attraction isn't just about getting what you want. It's about becoming someone who no longer needs to chase. Because when your energy aligns with who you truly are, what you seek begins to arrive. Not by force, but by resonance. This journey isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's not about pretending you're never afraid. It's about no longer letting fear make your choices. The real shift happens when you stop searching outward for magic and begin tuning inward to the frequency you're broadcasting every single day. Every belief you hold, every emotion you carry, every habit you repeat, every word you speak is part of the signal you send. And that signal is what the universe answers. So what's next? Maybe it's choosing to come back to the present, to release the story of pain, to stop blaming, to stop grasping for things that will never satisfy what's missing within. Maybe it's giving from a place of love. Maybe it's finally daring to meet yourself without filters or masks. Because this isn't just about manifesting a house, a car, or a partner. It's about manifesting a life. One that feels like home to your soul, a life of clarity, of depth, of peace that doesn't depend on outcomes. The law of attraction is always working. The question is, are you working with it or unknowingly against it? You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to be more than you are. You simply need to return to what's real, to what's present, to what's true. The universe is listening, not to your fears, not to your doubts, but to your alignment. So today, choose to align and let life respond. If this content made sense to you, don't stop here. Go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future content. Now, watch this next video where I'll show you another essential step to transform your reality.